Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Permission to Leap, a podcast exploring the stories of people who have brought their visions to life. Each week, I speak with an inspiring guest and navigate the process they took to take the leap in their own lives. Permission to Leap is the spark that will push you to believe in your dreams again and make them your reality. Today's guest is Jeremy Slate. Jeremy is the founder of the Create Your Own Life podcast, which helps entrepreneurs live the lives they know they were meant to. He studied literature at Oxford University, specializes in using online social networking to build an offline relationship, and was ranked #1 in iTunes New and Noteworthy and number 26 in the business category. After his success in podcasting, Jeremy and his wife Brielle founded Command Your Brand to help entrepreneurs get their messages out by appearing as guests on podcasts. Hi.
Hey, Brie, thanks for hanging out with me today.
Thank you for being here. I'm really, really excited. So Command Your Brand is new, right?
Yeah.
Brand new.
Like brand new. Like we launched the week before Thanksgiving. We're like in week 3.
Yeah. So talk to me about this pivot. Like, what was it that was the catalyst for taking this pivot to start Command Your Brand?
It was really that my co-founder and I just had different visions for where we wanted my previous company to go. So I just had to kind of acknowledge that and be willing to take a loss for a little while to really like do something bigger and, you know, create the bigger purpose I wanted to. But I think that difficult thing is you get stuck in like, oh my gosh, what about the money I need to make this month or whatever? But you need to have that long-term vision, right? And I think as entrepreneurs, sometimes we're like, all right, I'm going to take this real big pain right now because I see where this could put me in 3 months, 4 months, 6 months.
Yeah, it's that gap between the energetics and the physical world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the physical world is showing you that you're making money in this other business. And the energetic world is showing you the possibility that you have before you. And so what was that pain like for you, that gap between what you could see as possibility and where you were at with your reality?
It gets difficult because here's the thing you have to understand. Like thought is prime, right? Thought happens before any sort of action happens. You can actually physically put it there. So a lot of times when you're not in something where you're on purpose or you're feeling great, you actually start to put negative stuff there. You actually start to make a lot of bad things happen around you. And I think it's almost a way to convince yourself, okay, you really need to move. You're actually pushing yourself in that way. So it would be sometimes maybe a contract wouldn't work out the way I wanted to, or maybe a client wouldn't get started the way I wanted to, or maybe a program wouldn't work the way it wanted to. And when I kind of looked at it, it was like, oh, maybe I'm putting that there. And when you really start to realize a lot of those different things, it was even once I had that realization, things just flipped. It was like, okay, I need to just do this my own way. And it's amazing that when you actually confront something and like go at it, how it starts to unravel, right? Because I think the biggest times we're locked in this like ball of confusion. And how do you unravel confusion? But by grabbing one piece at a time until there's nothing left of it. And that's kind of how it resolves. And that's kind of where I was. And I was looking at being totally overwhelmed, not really wanting things to go in the direction I wanted them to go in, and saying, how can I, do something about this where it's kind of fair to everybody involved? And once I reached that decision, it started moving.
I so explain it the same way, that unraveling, like this year has been, so Jeremy and I were catching up right before we got on, but this year has been an unraveling for me as well. And
you get me.
It's funny. I'm a very visual person. And so I see it almost like a ball of yarn, right? Where it's like all mangled up and mashed up. And you literally have to like piece by piece remove each strand of yarn and like loosen them all up so that you can untangle the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like, what can I do? Like, okay, I can do this. Good. Okay, well, what else can I do? Okay, I can do this. And as you start to get more and more things done, like, all right, so I need to confront this. Okay, cool. Let's start confronting it. Okay, what do I need next? Okay, I need a website because now I have nothing. Okay, I need social media. I need to build an opt-in page. I built 3 opt-in funnels with 2 steps in about 7 hours. Like, you need to look at all these different things you need to have in place. And now I look at it and I have so many different things in place that I didn't actually have before that I'm like, wow, this is incredible. We've been in business for 3 weeks. So you know what I mean? It's really awesome when you get to look at it like that and you become more passionate about what you're doing.
Awesome. So what do you feel like was the most difficult part of this pivot for you, of this transition?
I was really enjoying what I was doing and I was hoping I was still going to be able to do that. And, despite disagreements, I really liked who I was working with. I just didn't see us being able to do that vision together. You know what I mean? So that was the hardest part, is kind of deciding, okay, maybe this isn't the right partnership. Like, I imagine that's what it's like when somebody gets married and they kind of realize, okay, well, we like each other, but we can't be married, right? So it's kind of that weird situation where you have to become okay with that and realize that maybe you have to go create on your own. And that was something that was most difficult for me to kind of come to terms with. But once I did, it was kind of figuring out how to communicate that in a way where you don't, cause any hurt feelings or anything like that.
Right. Gotcha. And so now, since I know that you're still kind of like in the middle of it, you're in this middle where it's closed and you've started the business, but you're still kind of in the limbo. But what do you feel like has been the most rewarding part of all this so far?
It's going to be communicating, as weird as that sounds. Like, I've been on the phone more in the last 2 weeks with people that are really excited to work with us. And, even some of our clients that are excited to receive even more like higher level service, because we added some additional services to what we're doing. So it's really cool to me. Like, it's funny, like about an hour ago, we even started a Facebook group and everything yesterday. And about an hour ago, I realized, wow, I feel like we're totally client centric. And that to me is like the amazing model, because like, your clients should be your best referral source, right? And if they're not referring, there's something wrong. So I'm like, wow, I can service these people at a higher level in the way I want to service them. So it really was interesting to me that I was like, wow, I'm becoming totally client-centric. This is amazing. And to me, that was really cool.
Awesome. Yeah, this idea of putting their needs almost above yours. Like, it's that you've interviewed, his name's Bob, the Go Giver guy.
Yeah, Bob Berg is amazing. I know you just interviewed him recently, right?
No, I talk about the Go Giver book.
Oh, okay.
Someone gifted it to me, and I had just done like a Facebook Live about the idea of Go Giver. Mm-hmm. And then I was on Twitter and saw that you had interviewed him, and then I tweeted at him and was like, "Oh my God, I just put 2 and 2 together, and like, I love your book, so good."
So are you going to have Bob on? He's been on my show twice. He's an amazing person.
I probably should. I mean, the whole concept of go giving, as silly as it seems, is completely foreign to so many people. We're taught this idea of go getting, and where we like take and take and take and take.
Yeah.
But that's not how you create value. That's not how you create those lasting relationships where those customers are referring you to their friends.
Even that, I do this weird thing. I don't know if you do it too. And I meet 2 people that I know, and I'm just like, oh my God, these people need to meet. I don't know what they're going to do together, but they're going to do something amazing. And I feel myself doing that more and more and more. And it's funny because just because you love doing it, you create this persona of yourself of being just a value adding person, and more stuff comes your way because you're just putting that out there. And it's real. It's not like fake. It's not like pushed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I love that. So in this shift, in this transition, how have you transformed? Because the person that you were a year ago is not the same person that you are sitting here in front of me today, having started this new business. So what do you feel like has shifted about who you are that's allowed this new business to kind of come to life?
There's one thing specifically, and that's that I've always liked to give responsibility to somebody else. And it kind of was like this time, like, oh, I don't like selling, I'll have somebody else do it. Or, oh, I don't like this, I'll have somebody else do it. And I realized if it's going to be, it's going to be me. You know what I mean? Like, I have to put it there. I can teach somebody else to do it, but somebody has to put it there. And it was once I had that realization that was the thing I was continually doing. I wasn't enabling people well enough. I was just kind of like, all right, somebody else can do it. All right, somebody else can have the responsibility. But now, when there is nobody else, it's just my wife and I doing this, I was better in that role as she's better in the promotional role. It's realizing, wow, okay, I can't give it to somebody else. I have to do this. I have to create it. And it's actually been kind of fun once you start to confront that. You know what I mean? Once you start to go at it like that, it's got to be me.
I love that. Did you have any resistance to it at all? Because personally, I'm kind of in that space right now as well. And I'm having so much resistance. Like, everything inside of me is rallying and fighting and clawing and scratching and not wanting to go there.
Well, here's the thing though, is like my necessity level changed, like especially for income and other things. So the fact that changed so much, you kind of think a lot less about how you feel at the time. You're like, okay, I just got to do it. You know what I mean? You're like, I just got to do it. And because of that, that doesn't exist in that way. Like, if I stop and think about it, yeah, I'll have some resistance, but I don't stop to think. And that's kind of been the difference, I guess.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to employ that.
Here's the thing, right? Like, let's say when you're to somebody that's scared of heights, right? They always tell you don't look down, because if you don't look down, you're not going to know how high you are, right? So if I don't stop to think about what I'm doing that I don't enjoy doing, then I'm probably not going to, enjoy it if I just don't remind myself.
I like that. I like that. So this leap that you're currently taking is not the first one you've taken,
No.
right? So talk to me about kind of the series of leaps. It's so funny. I see life as like one big leap, but then within that, there's all these other like, more like substantial leaps, but still not the big leap. And then within the substantial leaps, there's all the like little minuscule leaps as well. So talk to me about, you have quite the journey. Where did you start? And then how'd you get into podcasting that's now led into this business?
I feel like that's such a meta question. There's there's all these little leaps in this. It's so true though. You know what I mean? It's just the ones we want to focus on and tell in our story. For me, I came from my background where I got my degree in world religions. I studied literature at Oxford and then got my master's degree in ancient history. Go figure. Like, what do you do with that? And I was like, okay, so I don't have a teaching degree, so I can't teach. I didn't get into the PhD program I wanted to get into. So like, what do you do? So I ended up teaching in private school. And I was kind of like, all right, well, I could make more at a Burger King drive-through, but this is a job, right? It's going to be great. So I did that for about 2 years, and I was miserable as anything, to the point that I was, lashing out on people. I was having attitude with people. I was miserable. I had been with my wife, who was my girlfriend at this point. I think for like 3-4 years at that point. Been together for like ever. And then in 2013, in March of that year, my mom had a stroke, and it's the craziest experience when you come home from the gym. You can't find her, and you actually like find her like on the floor. Like, that was like pretty crazy. And it like literally like changed me, because it was like, all right, like life can end, because we were minutes from losing her. And now she doesn't have her ability to speak. She has difficulty walking and moving, so she can't work anymore or anything like that. And it really kind of made me realize my own mortality, which is crazy, because I feel like when it's connected to you, like personally, it doesn't feel like it's that big of a deal. But when it's somebody outside of yourself, it like really nails you. Because at 19, I had a surgery, which was supposed to be like a half an hour for my knee. And they messed up the anesthesia. They couldn't get me awake for 3 days, and I got lacerates. And my life did not change at that point. It didn't change until it was outside of myself, and it happened to my mom. And it didn't happen right away. It took me a year to kind of go through that process, which wasn't fully realized until I went to Peru in 2015 and spent a month there doing a mission trip, and actually saw like the poorest conditions I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, I've never experienced that before. So once I kind of saw that, I was like, all right, how are you going to make your mark in the world? Because in 2013, I quit that teaching job. Then I went through network marketing. I went through selling life insurance. I went through digital marketing. I did just about everything you could do, Brie, and it didn't really work. It wasn't until I actually had this experience, and I'm like, okay, it's got to be about more than me, or this is just not going to work. Because everything I was doing for money. I wasn't doing anything for purpose. I wasn't doing anything for helping. So I started a podcast in May of that year called Rock Your Life, and it was horrible. It went around for about 30 days. Luckily, you cannot find the artwork out there anywhere, which is atrocious. But it wasn't meant to help anybody else. It was another thing. It was the last hurrah meant to help me. Like, I'm the opinion leader. I'm going to help you. I'm going to coach you. I'm going to whatever. And I had none of that experience. Like, I didn't have that life experience to do that. And then in September of that year, I made a list of the people I most admired and wanted to learn from and teach other people from for Create Your Own Life. And that's when it really flipped around, flipping it from just me to who are all these other people and how can I help them? Like, I feel like there's so many people that are stuck in that place, right?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that's what like I said, the resistance that I'm facing is totally about me. I'm absolutely making it about me. I know that I am. And yeah, it's that opening up to seeing how your actions and your decisions are impacting and influencing other people. And by how, like, literally us not showing up is preventing other people from being great in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
It has, like, looking at the bigger picture, taking yourself out of the equation, getting over your shit, which currently, full transparency, in the process of, right? Like, as we go through all these different evolutions. And yeah, I totally agree.
And I guess you can put it like this, right? Like there's this thing of being self-determined or determined just for me or determined to do things my way. And that's great. You can have a lot of success that way. But if you look at the biggest and most successful people, you know, you look at the Bill Gateses, the Elon Musks, the Richard Branson, they're actually able to be determined for larger groups, right? They're able to be determined across groups of people. And once you can get to that place where you can be, you know, determined for yourself to do well, but also for other people, and, you know, look at all the money they get back, look at all the things they do, because their purpose is bigger than just what they have to eat this week. It's how can 1 million people eat this week? You know what I mean? So it really, like, once you're able to kind of go from that level to the next level, that's the biggest thing I've learned from all the entrepreneurs I've talked to.
Awesome. So how did, like, what have you, I mean, you just talked about what you've learned a little bit, but how have you really applied all of this knowledge from all these entrepreneurs to your life and your podcast and now Command Your Brand and all this stuff?
It's really that idea of giving value. And I think that's the biggest change there's been in me. It was always like, what can you give me? You know, what can you give me? How can you help me survive? How can you, like, when you're asking for somebody else to give you a license to survive, that's just pitiful. Like, that's disgusting. And that's where I was. And it's once you realize that, like, you're going to do well by the amount of value you create and the amount you can add to other people, that's the biggest thing. And it's funny because the more entrepreneurs I talk to, that's the thing I see in more and more and more of them, right? That's that single trait I see from the ones that are crushing it to the ones that are just kind of doing okay, is this ability to add value. And they don't care if they're going to make money from it, because they're adding so much value to the world that each one of those people that they add value to gives them $1, it's going to be amazing. And that's what's pretty crazy about what I've tried to do in each thing I've done. Like in my podcast, right? When I interview somebody, you've been on my show. It's been a while, but you've been on my show. The biggest thing I ask somebody is, how can I help you with this interview? Because yeah, I want to educate my audience, but how can I help you? And, you know, I'm adding value in everything I do. When I speak to a client, how can we make this a win for everybody? Like, how can I show you how to be the best on an interview? How can I find the right show that you're going to speak to that audience? So I always am looking to add the most value humanly possible, rather than how can I charge 20 grand for something and run away with the money? And I think that's what some people are really looking at right now, is how can I get the one and done, rather than how can I create value in something that's going to be around in 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, we see that so much with all the Facebook ads that are popping up, all the 6 steps to blah, 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 blah. And those are the people that are sprinters, right? Like those are the people that are in it just to like get a quick buck and turn around and get another quick buck. And the ones that are really truly in it for the long game, like this is a marathon, like we talked about, the big leap, like the lifetime legacy stuff is really the ones that are understanding that the money comes as you give more value. Like,
well, and I'm not going to also paint the prettiest picture here either. Like, it's not always easy in that spot where you're putting out the value and the money hasn't come in yet. It is not. You know what I mean? Like, there has been times where I have stared at the wall and I'm like, God, will this wall just milk money? That would be great. And I know even recently I got to interview Jason Gaynard, and he was hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt when he was trying to create mastermind talks and all these things and add value to other people. And now it's come out the other side and he's doing amazingly, but it's not always easy to be a person of value. Like, it's not. It becomes very difficult.
Yeah, because people want the money first. And I talk about this a lot, in the book. People want proof first. They want guarantees, they want assurances that their leap, their vision, their whatever is going to pay off. And they want that physicalness first before they're willing to, dive in, be vulnerable, give value, all that stuff. And it doesn't work in that direction.
That is so well said.
Thanks. I just wrote a book on it.
Oh, there you go.
Hey. So I always like to wrap the show by doing a little bit of visioning work. I happen to be a visionary, which I believe you are as well. And so I like to be able to hold space for you and have the listeners hold space for what you're creating. So I know you just started this brand, but share with me, like, what's 2018 looking like for you? What's that, or even further, what is that big vision that you're currently working on and kind of gestating and getting ready to bring to life?
Well, I'm still working on what's the next year going to look like. But the bigger goal is that I want to help 1 million entrepreneurs to tell their story because when that happens, it's just, I just talked to somebody about this morning, like the amazingness of story, like it's the thing we have done since the beginning of time as human beings. And some point in the 20th century, we forgot how to do it. And it's almost like we're rediscovering it. And I just feel like stories are so powerful because stories are what change lives. They're what help people to buy. They're what help people to create things, because it's that emotional human touch that really changes things. So for me, I haven't figured out what, that's going to be in the short term, because right now we're just, getting moving, planning and everything else. But in the long term is I want to help 1 million entrepreneurs to tell their story.
So what single story have you heard that has made the biggest impact on your life?
It's actually Grant Cardone's personal story. I don't know if have you ever heard his personal story?
No.
Grant Cardone was a failed sales guy that was in drug rehab and like was in like this pitiful shape, and had a guy say to him that you'll never amount to anything in drug rehab. You're just going to be another junkie. And he took that and then turned it around, didn't do a drug since. And like, look at what he's created now. Like, to me, that's so freaking impressive that somebody can take one obsession, turn it into another, and really like create something on that level. Like, you know what I mean? He talks about, he probably should have died in that point in time, like in bad shape as he was. So to me, I get it. That's probably a story a lot of people know, but to me, that's been the most impressive.
And so how have you taken that and kind of applied that, I guess, obsessive mindset maybe to your life?
Well, no, because it's like the thing I always look at when I hear people's story of struggle, and especially something like that, is, wow, I've never had a drug problem. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, look at what that guy had to get through. My little problems aren't that big of a deal. And look at what he's doing now. So to me, that's why I always like to hear like what people on a high level have done. Like, I just read a biography of Harry Truman that was amazing. I like to hear the struggles of people that have like went to the highest level humanly possible, because it shows me, look what they're doing now. And I'm complaining about, maybe I didn't have enough money to put gas in the car or whatever it may be that you're complaining about. It's like, they're a lot more resourceful than you because they had it a lot worse than you. So I find that to be really cool. And it takes that don't feel sorry for yourself out of it.
I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you. Tell
You're
people where they can find you.
Absolutely. Anything on the business side can be over at commandyourbrand.media. And over on the podcast personal brand side is over at jeremyryanslate.com.
Yeah, everybody go on iTunes and subscribe to his podcast. It's awesome. And if you go back far enough, I think it was 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? A year ago? Maybe it was a year ago.
It was a year ago, but we're going to be doing a comeback very soon.
Okay. If you go back far enough, you can find my interview. Although it's so funny because as entrepreneurs, we tell our stories in the varying places in which we are, right?
Mm-hmm.
I actually should probably go back and listen to our interview and be like, oh, right.
That was happening. Well,
yeah,
that was like we talked right after you got out of fashion. So like you were just transitioning from fashion to, whatever it was you were doing at that time. So if
more than a year ago.
Brain stands correctly.
Yeah, it's interesting. And really too, like as storytellers, like looking back on our stories, and even I think oftentimes we don't give ourselves credit for how far we've come.
Seriously.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I'm always looking forward as to like how much I still have left to do. And I know
I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, what people like, I hate when people are like, oh, wow, you're doing so great. I'm like, dude, this is 1% of where I want to be. You know what I mean? And it's like, sometimes you just need to take that pat on the back, I guess.
I know. I should probably go back and listen to my interview and be like, man,
like, come on, you've been in Forbes. You were a top 40 millennial influencer recently. There's some pretty cool stuff going on. Yeah.
Yeah. And everyone should go look up. Jeremy is a prolific writer. He writes for Influensive, New Theory magazine, all sorts of different outlets. So you can check out his writing as well. So thank you so much for joining me. This has been brilliant. I can't wait to see what comes for you in 2018 and the billion stories that you get to tell between now and then. Do you know how far you are into that?
We are like, I think 9 stories into that. So I have a long way to go.
You have more than 9. How many episodes?
In my podcast, 342 episodes as of today.
There you go.
So we're working on it.
We're baby steps. How do you eat an elephant, Jeremy?
One bite at a time, or you get one really big guy to eat it.
Oh, goodness. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for another great episode. If you're looking to take your next big leap, you can obviously check out my book, Permission to Leap. There needs to be more people like you in the world living an inspired life and making a positive difference. The world needs you. If you don't believe me, open up your browser and type in news. Much love today and always. I will catch you on the next episode of Permission to Leap. Bye.